We've reached a point where any Steven Universe related video turns into a gold mine for views. May 2017 is literally the best time period in existence right now. Five whole seasons. We are at the fifth season of Steven Universe. Most believe that this is the last season of the series, but I believe there might be a sixth season if a second Earth Gem War was to take place. But what's the point in theorizing about the future when it can be just as fun to look back on the past? Let's take a walk down memory lane, shall we? Remember when Steven was a goofy, chubby kid who always laughed and could always see the bright side of things? A kid who knew literally nothing but was eager to live up to his mother's legacy and do great things with his life when he grew up, but now has become this internally damaged, scarred and tormented teenager with terrible mommy issues who feels like it's his duty to right the wrong caused by his past self. A person who now wants nothing to do with the very thing he craved so much to have and cannot find meaning in his life anymore because he can never shut off the past actions of his mother and become his own person because the people around out to get him don't even see or notice his existence. All they see is his mother. Remember when Garnet was just a cool, distant leader type who always knew what to do and always seemed in control? But now we know just how divided she is, how far her two selves have come and worked hard to grow closer together. We know the deep fear and anger she holds for her former rulers and life, and how easy it is for her to fall apart and come undone. We now know that Garnet is made up of two completely different and opposing forces, but have still managed to love each other so much they can not only stay together, but to live in such harmony that produces a force greater than what they can accomplish separately. Remember when Pearl was the nagging mother hen who irritated the living shit out of you? Who always had to be right and looked down on the humans around her, having a sort of superiority ideology she carried around? But dear sweet God, did we not know the kind of detrimental soul was harbored within that gemstone? We now know she's a hurting gem who has tremendous self-doubt and hides a tortured past. We know the unrequited love she harbored and the great loss she suffered for millennia. But despite all that, is an amazing fighter who fought the status quo and changed the course of her life to become what everyone said she could not. She broke out and away from a life dictated for her to become her own free gem. We grew to know her as someone who used to be wild and carefree, who settled into a mediocre life, not of her own doing, but because people grow up and change. She's not just a changed gem, but one that holds so much more mysteries from her past that I cannot wait to find out. Remember when Amethyst was the annoying big sister bully type who you either hated or loved? The reckless love whose almost sole purpose to the show was comedic relief? But we have now come to know this layered gem who hates her very existence, who strives to be her best despite her physical disabilities, and no matter how hard she tries, she simply cannot live up to the standards set for her because she just came out wrong. Having to live with the knowledge of that and coming to accept her difference in the world and finding companions who share those same differences, even despite knowing she's an expendable resource because all those around her can live on just as well despite her. But then having to come to the conclusion of just accepting that no one is perfect except Jasper, and that no one can ever be perfect except Jasper, and you're perfect just the way you are, and you always find people willing to accept and love you that way. Remember when Connie was just the one-off friend of Steven who was basically destined to be his love interest, but has turned into this girl that even I, as a grown-ass woman, looks up to, having the strength and tenacity to go up against super-powered opponents, trains relentlessly and still be able to keep up a normal life and excellent grades. She worked hard to be where she is and earned the respect and absolute trust of the Crystal Gems, gaining admiration and praise despite being just a human. Connie has literally, before our eyes, transformed from a shy wallflower whose every actions were controlled by her parents to this badass fighter chick who can keep up with practically a super soldier. And she's not even a teen yet. Remember when Lars was your basic one-dimensional jerk, who I still liked regardless, but who we now know is just a scared teen He's scared of being rejected, of people not liking him. He doesn't want to become a social reject and just wants to fit in. Even more sad was if it wasn't for Steven's little intervention in the episode Lars and the Cool Kids, Lars would still be hiding in the shadows, hoping for one day to get noticed. Always just being that guy on the outside looking in on others having fun. And due to his very fears, he has become the very thing he feared the most. A person that people generally don't like. And all he can do is look on from the corners he's gotten used to hiding in. Remember when Ronaldo was the weird town conspiracist, always having crazy ideas and said things that most of the time never made sense, but has now become the all-seeing oracle of Beach City, whose word is basically law at this point. To quote one of my viruses, Ronaldo is basically the Pinkie Pie of this show. Truer words have never been spoken. Remember when Greg used to be viewed as this deadbeat dad? I don't know why, I've personally never viewed him as such, who was rarely seen in the picture and is viewed as a general screw-up, but has now been understood to be seen as a father figure who isn't afraid to give his son space to grow, to find himself and figure out his place in the world, who encourages him and supports him in all decisions he may make, regardless of how life-threatening, and above all else, despite being a multi-millionaire, has still kept a cool head and has been able to maintain his life and lifestyle and has not allowed his wealth to consume him. Also, remember when Peridot was the biggest threat to the crystal gems, her coming to Earth and basically being the pain in the ass to deal with, but has now learned to grow emotions, to understand that those she looked up to may not have been as great as she had previously thought, and has come to love the very things she had once wanted to destroy and move on from. Also, remember when she used to be a tall, calculating, distant and emotionless homeworld gem, but is now this short, funny, comical friend who just loves being a part of something bigger and boasts about being a crystal gem as much as she can. Remember when Lapis Lazuli was a defenseless broken gem who'd been trapped in a mirror for thousands of years due to misunderstandings caused by her being caught in the crossfires of war and wanted nothing more than to go home and be free? A gem who'd been pushed around and controlled, who had no say over her life and has been kept prisoner by foreign rebels, her own people, and then even by herself, but has now shown herself to be one of the strongest, if not the strongest gem on Earth. I'd bet my AdSense Lapis could take out Aquamarine in a fight. Who wants to see a video about that? She no longer cares what people think of her. She no longer puts on appearances and interacts with people in ways that only she is comfortable with. Granted, those ways might come off as dickish, but I believe we can allow Lapis to be a stone cold bitch for a little bit longer. And yeah, I think those are the only main people we've seen develop, or at least I've taken much notice to. Only other person I can think of is Sadie, who went from being the big sister type to the big sister type who's not afraid to throw down, who knows who she is, where her place is, and likes people just the way they are, huge faults and all. But seriously though, Lars and Sadie are dating, right? They have to be. This hand-holding could not have meant nothing, people. It just has to mean something. They couldn't have just put it here for nothing, right? Right? No, tell me, they are dating. Somebody confirm this, please. Ahem. Fangirl moment over. So what have you guys? Any other things from Steven Universe way back when you want me to talk about? Is there anyone I may have missed? And no, Ruby and Sapphire don't count. We haven't gotten much of them separated on screen to make much of an assessment. Jasper too. She pretty much just went from strong to weak. But I'm sure you guys will let me know all about it as you always do. Thanks y'all viruses so much for clicking to watch. Please don't forget to read my books on Wattpad, support me on Patreon, and follow me on Twitter. And as always, do not forget to like, comment, subscribe, and stay awesome. This is TVC signing out.